stream. And it's actually a very chill stream because, well, Sunday we got the episode, but last week we had no One Piece content. So I hope you guys are excited. So today with me, I've got a hell of a crew. So we've got Joshua Vykthor, our musician. What's up, Josh?
We're not live yet.
Yeah, what's up?
Wait.
Yeah, I just started.
Yeah. Okay, well, welcome everyone. So we restart this. And welcome to a last arc chill stream where we'll be talking about One Piece because for those who aren't unaware, not this Sunday, but last week, both Sunday and last Sunday, we didn't get a chapter or an episode. So let's get this started. So let's start with the introduction of our musician, Josh. What's up, man?
Yo, what's up? I'm ready to spit what I still can before I wait for the
Yeah, man. So yeah, excited. And we have got also our Frontline Combatant with us, NoChillDill. What's up, Dill?
Yo, chilling as usual, as contrary to my name though. Because we're here for a chill stream, not a no-chill stream, you know?
Exactly. And of course, we've got the future pirate queen, our navigator, 3-day trip.
Hey guys, I am here ready to chill and talk One Piece.
Yeah. And we've got our representative from Water 7 himself, a legend of a man, Nak himself. What's up, Nak?
They say I grew up on an iceberg, but they really don't know the truth.
You know, after I said Water 7, you say grew up on an iceberg. It makes it very weird, but okay. We'll go with that. So yeah.
About where I live, you know, the icebergs are around every day.
Yeah, exactly. So just a reminder, even though it's in the chat, to be sure, since they're already out, no spoilers, because at least among us, Josh doesn't read spoilers whatsoever. So no spoilers. We will time out, mute whoever brings up any spoilers. Okay, perfect.
This is a place for all fans. This is a stream for all One Piece fans today. You don't have to watch the spoiler.
Yeah. So to start out this chill stream, I have one theme or subject, and then we can, as usual, spit from there. So since we've just got I don't know how many chapters worth of Vegapunk's message, and we've seen a lot of people reacting, not just on the island, but outside the island. So excluding everyone on the island and involved in the Egghead incident, what are your prediction on certain people who we've seen the reaction to? And what would be your prediction of certain events that are gonna happen? Whoever wants to start can start.
Anybody got something to say? Because I can go right into it.
Go
ahead.
I'm waiting I'm waiting to see how Iceberg is going to deal with this issue. Water 7 is obviously an island that's trying to make itself float, in a sense. The world is flooding, and we have a guy who had the blueprints to Pluton just sitting over there undisturbed with nobody actually on his case. I feel like he's going to be one of the biggest plot points in the story coming up, and if he actually knows the blueprints to Pluton, we could see 2 Plutons in the final battle.
Oh yeah. And I wonder if it got him worried, them talking about how everything flooded, with him talking about the ancient weapons again still being out there, and he was worried about Robin activating them or waking them up, but he's already trying to. I mean, will he feel pressured to pick up the pace on trying to make the Water 7 float?
I think so, and I think it's probably going to spread to the shipbuilding company will actually become the island floating, in a sense, turning islands into floating vessels across the world for people to get through this event. But at the same time, his issue with Pluton, the blueprints, was that he didn't want someone to have this weapon, and the blueprints were in case someone else got the weapon. So if we see Blackbeard or somebody get Pluton, I'm sure either Frankie or Iceberg is going to come through and develop the counter Pluton.
Yeah.
If it's not already in play, we don't know exactly what Frankie done to the Sunny all the way for sure, because we keep getting surprises. There's
And
no
actually-
telling what he's.
Great point.
And there might be something actually, and it just made me think, especially with what we're getting with the CP0 and Egghead, right? And obviously, people are making prediction of Rob Lucy becoming his own man. Sussy regrets some of her action because it does seem that she did care for them. But if you think about it, Kaku is the most emotional about it. And if you remember pre-time skip, you could see that him betraying Polly really affected him. Even Polly did that whole thing to say, he told Kaku, "You're fired," and you could see on his face it affected him. So I'm wondering
yeah.
if the Water 7 stuff will get even more like they will take more of a pressing issue. Is what if with the events that happened with Egghead? What if Kaku goes back to Water 7?
Oh,
Kaku coming back. Obviously, there's going to be a storyline that's going to make sense
Yep.
on how they're going to accept it. And when Iceberg's going to hear what he said, and don't forget, they knew about the Lucia before they got to Egghead because Rob Lucia was asking about it, and Kaku said, "Shut it."
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Actually, what you're saying, Nak, it's an interesting thought.
and what you just brought up about Polly and Kaku is interesting too, because it's like I never even thought about that. But if Kaku came back to Water 7, do you think Polly would even accept him? Think Polly would
he'd
let that
forgive.
go?
I think he'd
Yeah.
forgive him. He's too sweet. He's too sweet. I think he's too sweet.
I
You
mean,
think? Yeah, and it would be a nice moment too. It would be like, Kaku being like, "I didn't know any other way, man. Like that was my job."
You
And then
can tell
Polly
Kaku values
get it.
friends. I mean, so
No.
it does seem like he really valued their friendship.
I'm gonna say this: if Iceberg could forgive Frankie, I think the people from Galilei Company will find a way to at least forgive Kaku.
Yeah.
It
I
is
think
bad,
Luffy was the
but
main
Frankie
betrayal.
spent years making life hell for people in Water 7, and Iceberg included. Even though he let it
Yeah.
slide, but he still did, so to feel like, yeah, man, that's
First place I wanted to talk about, just because I think everybody kind of talked about Water 7 a little bit when we got the announcement the world is flooding. It was like, oh, everybody remember Water 7. And then it was like, okay, everybody stopped talking about Iceberg and the guys at Galilei. And they're like the common man's best hope for surviving this if it actually comes to pass.
Yeah, there's actually someone else if you think about it, and I do believe that's why I'm bringing him up because it would connect to your Water 7 agenda. The ambition of Zev to create the Brache. Because for those who remember a couple of months and a half, we were talking about Zev and how explain it. If you actually analyze the Brache, he seemed to know something about the flooding. The way it's built.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I know this is getting to a tangent, but Waffle as well also had a ship that could turn into a submersible.
Yeah.
These people have
Uh-huh.
vessels that could survive a flood, and these plans were made
Thriller
for a
bark.
reason.
Yep. Thriller
Thriller
bark
Bark,
is.
another one.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah,
But
that was in.
the name Iceberg being associated with that made me think that I can't remember. It seems like I watched a video on it, but the fact that Blackbeard now has Kuzan on his crew, and he can turn islands into icebergs and make them float if they needed to. I mean, they could sell his services. I mean, that's kind of a stretch, but it made me think of that he could actually turn, help people float on icebergs. If y'all were, I don't know if you've seen Code Geass when they left Japan or what. I forget how it was, but when the 0 and million people left, they left on a giant iceberg.
Oh,
I don't
really?
know why.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's wild, because like Blackbeard could then offer the common people a place to survive and be like, you follow me, do what I say, and you can live on this
Exactly.
giant ice rock.
Yeah.
Yep.
So a shout out to some of the people in the chat. I'm just seeing the chat. Braden King, Stonks. Oh, Knack. No, Knack is here. He doesn't get a shout out. Lonely Mage,
Hey.
SSJ8 Cody. And we've got a super chat from Lonely Mage. Again, appreciate it, bro. $10. So I'm interested to know the fallout of Vegapunk's message. I should hope kingdoms across the world would scramble to prepare for nationwide evacuation and survive at sea with makeshift fleets.
Oh.
Great take.
Yeah.
We touched on it a little bit before we came on stream, so I don't want to just steamroll this conversation, but if someone wants to hop into it, there's an idea that everybody's going to be at sea.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me. That's
Everybody will
what.
be a pirate, basically.
Yeah, think of Rayleigh. His
Oh,
whole
yeah.
agenda. He basically was coding pirates because he said even criminals deserve to be able to code their ship. The idea of it, like, it made it seem that there's an official one, but that means Rayleigh is willing to, like Noah's Ark, it was for everyone, but ego.
And yeah, not you said the Noah's Ark, like this is gonna be a big piece of the puzzle in the last arc or war or something like. This is what is gonna save most of the people on the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And with Lonely Mages, if anyone has to add, with Lonely Mages super chat, I'm going to actually give my thing. I already spoke to some people on VC today, but I'll go with it because you talk about kingdoms. And you know how I believe the story that we're going through, we're actually re-seeing the formation of the world government, the Ancient Kingdom. Like, obviously, it's not a bit, but storytelling wise. And Isabella was one of the first to react to the message. And what really bothered him and angered him was the destruction of a kingdom that is represented by the Reverie, Lulusia. And he said that do research, go check it out. Tell me if there is something happening, the actions has to be made. And so I'm wondering if we're also we're getting the storyline of why at one point the 20 kingdoms came together. Like what is showing us with storytelling. Obviously, he's gonna use the Lucia attack. Most likely 800 years ago there was something else. But what if he's gonna give us like the reasoning of all those kingdoms coming together?
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
Especially with the Lisabello's announcement we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. And if
he has a lot of pull with the rest of the world, so he could gather a lot of countries all by himself.
Yep.
We could be looking at another formation of a coalition of kings to face the world government.
Because I always find it interesting how they've been very conservative in even naming the name of the 20 kings.
Right.
I think we have 2 family names, if I'm not mistaken. The Flamingos and Fingerland is even not sure. With Nefertari is 20 because Nefertari and the what's it called? And the Don Quixote, yeah. The Fingerland is the one we're not sure of.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was very surprised actually when I checked the wiki on that those are the only names confirmed, because I think the community as a whole has assumed Emu Nerona Emu Nerona, the Figureland family, and probably even the Mjosgard family. You know what I'm saying? But none of them were confirmed.
He's a Don Quixote, so he is one of the 20
he's a Don Quixote. Oh my god, look at that.
Yeah.
You can also add the 5 family names of the Gorosei to that.
Yeah, true. So I've always wondered, because of that, if it's a cycle, there was, by seeing the name of those 20, Oda would have written a different name, obviously. But you know how, us theorists, we could find patterns. There will be connection with those, like, the current kingdoms that we have today, with the 20 kingdoms that came together, People could have foreshadowed which of those of all those kingdoms, which one would come together, So I do believe that could be the reason why he's been so conservative with their family names.
I agree. I think you hit it on the head.
Yeah, so yeah, that was my pick, my first pick, Elisabello II. So what about I don't know, 3-Day Dill? Or Josh, I don't know if you guys have who is your
what do you think the world's gonna do when they hear this announcement?
Yeah.
I think they're all gonna choosing sides. They don't have a choice but to start choosing sides and making a play in some sort of way. They can't sit still now. They have to go out and do something if they want to protect the world.
There's like 3 options. It's join one side, join the other side, or pretend you didn't hear this.
Or form your own
we see Nojiko, her being like, yeah, I'm gonna go tend to the orchard because she just doesn't see any purpose of herself in this war. But at the end of the day, it's one of 3 options. It's either you let your country or your land be taken, or you join a side.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the Lonely Mages super chat, because about the people all gathering to come to the seas. Like that's exactly what it would be. Like
I feel like a lot of people are gonna join the Revolution Army for their cause. They're gonna
Yeah.
turn against the poor government.
Yeah, you might see a big resurgence in revolutionaries and their funding, because we know they've had issues with funding up until this point.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Lonely
And
Mage
actually-
put another interesting point in the chat. Some kingdoms will have no choice but to ally with pirates for survival. This is the perfect time for Vivi to come out of hiding and announce Alabasta is joining Yonko Straw Hat Luffy, which is perfect because she's already on the ship with Big News Morgans, who can put that news out immediately.
Yeah, and
Oh,
once
crap.
once Viv is gonna do that, I think what's the name of the king in Dressrosa? Riku. Yeah,
Yeah.
Riku and the Fishman Island is gonna join Luffy as well.
Exactly.
Those are the three main kingdoms.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's
Isn't
another
the
one as well.
capital-
There's another one as well. Dalton, remember? The one thing that Dalton remembered was Vivi. And he
yeah.
had a big appreciation for Chopper and obviously Luffy. So he could put Sakura Kingdom as well, backing them.
And some
If you-
kingdoms can just go to higher ground if they need to. Like in Drum Kingdom, they could all move to the tops of the drums, whatever looks like trees that have been cut down. In Alabasta, their capital, wasn't it up on higher ground too? Looked like they've all been planning for a flood for a long time. Some of them.
Yeah. And what we know is 800 years ago, Princess Lily did something, and we know that was around the same time that the 20 kingdoms came together to form the create Cecil Dragon and to form the world government, right? But I said there's something that had to be changed, right, in this cycle. What if Morgan never was the one who saved Vivi, aka Lily, in the Void Century? She was always captured by the world government, and so they did what she wanted them to do. You know what I mean? Like maybe we're getting a storyline, but this time it isn't creating the world government. It's creating something else, something better. The resistance. Like maybe in every storyline, the resistance is crushed before it's created because of that storyline. You know, they got to support on the other side first. Sorry, Del, you were saying?
I was saying they're all supporting the Luffy Alliance,
Mm-hmm.
the Straw Hat Grand Fleet, so to speak.
Yeah.
And
That's
you already
the
you have an
go
entire
ahead.
kingdom. Yeah, you have an entire kingdom as a part of Grand Fleet already.
Yeah, it's true.
There's also the katakana for alliance and coalition, like used in the World Government Coalition or the 20 Kings Coalition and the World Government Alliance, is not the same one as Luffy was used in Luffy's alliance with Law or his alliance with the Ninja Pirate Mink Alliance. They're both two different katakana, implying two different reasonings for this alliance. One is to fight good or fight for good. One is to fight for control.
Interesting.
Oda telling us like the differences in this alliance, because the two katakanas both mean coalition / alliance, right? But he's using one specifically for the world government's group, and he's using another one specifically for Luffy and his pals. It's very interesting. It's like he's trying to send a message with what these alliances mean.
Yeah, actually, it's quite interesting. And actually, it was not a thought I ever had, but I just had a thought on another group, and I actually would know where they would go. What if right now, and it's interesting, Cross Guild, why? Buggy right now has his message, but they know the importance of Buggy now, which angers Crocodile. They obviously need more people, manpower at one point, right? Where would be the one place that everyone's foreshadowing Cross Guild to show up? And a place where if there's a flooding, they would be the first to go. Impel down. And they all heard the message. And Buggy already did an escape. Some of them must have heard of Buggy who did the first escape. So imagine if Cross Guild shows up. They know about the flooding. They're saved again by Buggy who returns. And they found out he's part of the pirate crew, the Rogers crew. The ones who know everything. This could literally be where Crocodile needs to get a lot of people in one go in his organization.
Yeah. And they might be thinking Buggy is the Nika legend that they hear from Impel Down, that he's the one that saves them from there. If I'm not mistaken, that was a legend.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
I
I
mean,
actually think that legend come from the poneglyph in Impel Down, and in fact they imprisoned somebody who could have read those at one point in history, and that's how it got spread around the prison, and it lost some of the information because prison story is like a myth; it gets broken down over time.
yeah. For me, I'm convinced it's because of that title that Vegapunk gave to Sun God Nika. He didn't call him the Sun God. He called him the White Warrior. And the only place where we've seen people, their attire is all being white. The clothes is white. That was most consistent, pretty wild. Is Skypia, but Marijoa. What if it's at a time where the first Nika could have been among the Celestial Dragons, or the Celestial Dragons of that time, their ancestors. And so that's when the first sparked, I mean, it would make sense that Nika is born in that environment,
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, so like
we all talk about how emotions manifest into different things in this world. Like not so much like small emotions, but like when a group of people come together and all wish for the same thing, they can manifest things.
Yeah.
I think that's where these powers come from originally.
Yeah. And a fun fact, if you're wondering, because I was and I love my parallel. In Marineford Impel Down, Mr. One and the Crocodile now who are Cross Guild were together. Both of them fought against each one of them fought against a flamingo and fought against Mihawk. With that logic, it would be in this instance fighting off Impel Down, Mihawk and Mr. One are fighting together, and Crocodile and Doflamingo were fighting together. So it's like an interesting thing. And my whole take about how they can free everyone from Impel Down. They have to do one thing. Go see Doflamingo. Doflamingo is gonna say, uncuff Pika. Pika has an unnatural advantage on that island. The whole castle is made of stone. It's like 90% stone.
Yeah. I never even considered Pika and his uses there. Holy crap.
Yeah. You uncuff him. And fun fact, only the handcuffs that people have and the chains, the cages have kairoseki. The rest is just stone. So it's very easy for him to get out of his cell, I'm pretty sure.
Wild. I never even considered that. That's a huge, huge win for the Doflamingo breakout theory.
Doflamingo, I think
it could rework the whole place to where it wouldn't flood, and they could even use that as one of their bases.
Yeah.
And even lock up the guards and the warden there and own the place.
And we all know Magellan is the biggest issue of getting out. And what happens to Magellan if he's just in a stone box?
And we saw that Magellan and Doflamingo kind of got a friendship going on.
Yeah, and also
I love that little bromance. They should have their own buddy cop comedy.
And my whole take of the Marines are protecting people in Impel Down on how they kept sending revs at a place where they would disappear. And we get the vibe of Sengoku's repairing still saying, when Magellan wanted to quit, his superior, which was Sengoku, it kept on talking and it kept on going off panel. I'm wondering if there's a reason why he put in Magellan there. And Magellan knows that. Because think about it. Magellan is not this psychopath like all the rest. It would maybe serve that he serves a purpose for the Marines. The one person that has a good heart, Maybe when the time comes, maybe he doesn't see some criminals as actual criminals. Don't you find it interesting that he let him go? Let's say that the Marines purposely left people after Ivankov disappeared. Purposely left people at level 5, where they go to level 5.5, right? Don't you find it interesting where Magellan left Luffy and Mr. 2? And he said, "Oh, we'll see if he just survived." And it just happened that Ivankov has a fruit like that can help him. You see what I mean? Like, it kind of makes you think of preparing a place, the suspicious act. Like I'm saying, I think the Marines have been putting... It's a bit like what they said in Skypia, the God's Knight, the White Beret. We start creating laws and imprisoning people to protect you from the gods, from the god Enel. Making illusion that they were acting on it, because the order was to execute anyone who insults him. So they start creating the laws. So I think that's what the Marines are doing. They're forced to do certain stuff. So I'm wondering if Magellan is part of it as well. That's why Doflamingo could speak so freely about him, because he might be aware of it.
That there's an interesting thing there with Magellan too, because all of Impel Down, there was no hostility towards inmates. It was his duty to keep them safe. Like when the breakout started happening, he's like, how am I going to keep these prisoners safe? How am I going to make sure that they don't get out in the world? It's not that I want these prisoners to suffer. It's like, I want to keep them safe and I want to make sure they don't get out into the world. What if he doesn't want them out in the world again? Because some of them will just be executed if the Marines see them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Just Will wrote us in the chat. That's how I'm saying that I think Magellan must be a key player for this whole thing, because he's the only person who could actually melt the whole island, the whole castle. So if Oda wants to make it successful, they have to do something with Magellan.
And I love this back and forth with him and Doflamingo right now. Like, we touched on it for a second, but there's a lot happening in those little brief panels.
Yeah.
Magellan's questioning his allegiances. Doflamingo's, everything he talks about is intriguing because you don't know what he's got in the background, what kind of information he has. Everything seems like a fucking theory. And yeah, I love it. I can't wait to see where that goes.
Yeah. What do you guys think? What are the Marines' action after this mess and everything? Do you think it's weird because it does, like I said, it does feel like the Marines were aware of all of those stuff.
I think feels like only the higher ups know that.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be at least Vice Admiral, and not even all of those know.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, definitely. But they'll have the same decisions to make in a sense. I mean, some of them may not want to support the war or don't want to side with the other Marines that want to kill all pirates. Maybe they'll realize all pirates are not bad.
And I think we kind of, I think we're in agreement that most Marines sees that like that, but it does feel because of in Marineford. Think about it. The Marines had no issue with Sengoku making the most honorable war of all times. Think about it. Even after the lie about killing Ace early, what did Sengoku say? Then they acted like they were shocked that the pirates would think they would do that. Think about it. It's kind of weird. You're in a war. Why are you going to follow protocol? So it kind of makes you think that Marines know, but they can't do anything about it, The Gorosei and the pressure of the world government is just way too strong. They've seen other people get destroyed completely, So it kind of makes you think that more like they don't have the courage to stand up.
Right. And that's exactly what Marines were trying to send to the people with Roger's execution and with Ace's execution.
And
this is what happens when you cross us.
And there's also something else that actually, if the government found a good way to discredit all the message, even the stuff that people saw, there's one thing that the Marines will not believe of the government. If they try to make people believe that Nika part is a lie, they're seeing Luffy right now. That's quite interesting. They're seeing first-hand experience of Nika existing. But yeah.
And Lonely Mage said assassins were trying to kill Dolphy, and around the time the river. So what if they were God Knights? I don't know if Magellan could protect them from those, but that's very interesting.
That same idea. What if they sent some God Knights into Impel Down? And that's how we see the breakout. And it's not because any other faction goes there. It's because the God Knights go there and Magellan isn't going to let the government execute a prisoner on his watch.
The reason why I don't think, or at least now, they're not going now, maybe, I'm not going to say no. I think right now, with, the Gorosei being on Egghead, I don't think the God Knights are leaving anywhere. They're not leaving Marijoa. Because think about it, doesn't it make the Celestial Dragon vulnerable? If they have both, Celestial Holy Knights going to Impel Down to... I'm saying right now, like, with the state of things, because, maybe in an arc or two, they decide to go after the Flamingo. But I do think
as soon
that
as
right
the God Knights make a move, Dragon will make his move. I know we've been waiting forever for him to do something, but he literally said they were basically waiting on the God Knights.
So I'm going to talk about something about a TV show that's actually releasing new episodes. I'm not going to say what's in the it's from House of Dragons. It's not this week's episode, so don't worry, guys. But there's a scene where a group how can I say that? So yeah, I'll explain from the scene that I saw. I'll explain in one piece. I'm wondering from what I saw to that episode, what if Dragon is purposely starving Marijoa so that instead of attacking them, they're gonna send food from the Revolution Army. There was a scene like that in not this episode, the episode before. And actually, it's a very famous war move, you know. How do you stop a war? By having their own people doubting their motivations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll do anything to cause doubt like that.
Yeah. And we know that they're the one interfering with it. So when it makes sense at one point, and they get, imagine a letter from Dragon Revolution Army. We know that you guys are not our enemy. The true enemy is the world government or stuff like that. And you should not suffer in our war. That's a bad look for the Gorsei.
Certainly is.
Yeah.
Just to touch on that, like, if Dragon was to have an inside man, now I'm not suggesting that he does, but if he did, and the inside man could then spread the message to the celestial dragons that the world government, like the Gorsei, the reason you're not getting food, Dragon's willing to give us back our food, just come back off the red line and he'll feed us all. And then all of a sudden, Marijoa clears out of celestial dragons and it's just the Gorsei and a battlefield, really.
Honestly, I'm gonna say this: if they have an inside man that would be able to go to Marijoa, I'm wondering if it's not Fujitora because of the exchange with Sabo and the other revs.
That would be so spicy, dude.
Yeah, for someone who seems to hate this whole aspect of the side of the world government, he really goes away of his time to always be present where celestial dragons are, or celestial-esque stuff, you know.
And yeah, also him stopping Green Bull.
Yeah. As well, stopping Green Bull. When he says to Sabo, "Oh, amazing, this new power-up you got." And then Sabo telling him, "Well, it would be different if you were actually serious." How do they know that about each other? You know? So it kind of makes me think that what if Fujitora gave them because this almost can explain how all of them knew where to find Kuma.
Yeah, they either clashed before or they trained together.
Yeah.
That's what that statement says.
Yeah, and what's interesting is we know he was civilian 2 years ago. We know that Akainu and him are very close and 1 year apart. But guess what? Who else seems he could have been a Marine at the same time with Akainu, Dragon. So would it make sense that Fujitora has the same background? His background with Akainu may be similar with Dragon as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I love it. Joe D. Boy brought up a great question in chat just then. He said, if Lily had the pawpaw fruit and sent the poneglyphs flying, I was wondering why there's no paws underneath the poneglyph, like Luffy and the crew at Savity. Does the paw disappear over time or move? Or did the poneglyphs get moved afterwards?
I love that question because I have the same thought on this. Because if she did just send them flying, how did the people know that they were supposed to protect them? I mean,
yeah. I have an idea for that.
Something weird going on here that it can't be that simple. Yeah, that's so weird.
I do like, and I do think that it might be possible on her paw fruit, but I think that it's because of the statement they said. Lily disappeared, right? They were without a trace. No one can ever find it. The only time someone said this anything remotely throughout the recent arcs is Orochi and Kaido when they talked about Momo and his retainers who disappeared. We looked for them everywhere. They were nowhere on Wano, or we even heard of them in the world. But they reappeared 20 years ago because of Toki's fruit. And in the same time as I talk about Lily, we're seeing someone with a fruit that affects age, body. So I'm wondering if the reason why they knew about poneglyph is the way to get rid of it is she had Toki move them in time. So during that time, let's say a set of poneglyphs was gonna arrive in 20 years. So for those 20 years, people are waiting. And then when they arrive, moves them. Kuma's foot can work as well, but I think that Toki's foot could be very smart because it give the time to people to basically move things. It could also explain how they wrote poneglyph as well. What if they move people in time? Guys, reappear 50 years from now. starts writing everything on poneglyphs, the start of poneglyphs, you know? That could be what they mentioned about Lily. Like, what if Toki and Lily together move things around, you know?
She could have sent Lily to the future. That's why she disappeared. Now Lily is just going to show up in the final war. Seems like they knew it was going to happen.
And don't you
But
find it
also-
interesting? Yeah, sorry, Josh.
But also, if Lily did have the paw fruit, that allows her to move as well with the poneglyphs. So that's another option.
True.
She went herself to every kingdom.
True.
Very possible. Or
Yeah,
at
so
least to a place where she knew that they wasn't going to be flooded for the next 800 years.
Yeah.
My issue with the Papas and the poneglyphs is one was inside a tree, one was at the bottom of the ocean, one was inside like what is the one at Wano? It's like inside a cave or a port or something underneath the ground. Like that's not traditionally like you can't get to those places with the Papas traditionally. Like you'd fly through the sky and you'd hit ground level. You wouldn't go.
You can
You
move
know?
them.
Yeah, but you
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
do
that was part of his question. That's part of his question. Do you think that they were moved after they were synced? Because there's no pause underneath.
Why
Yeah.
would you leave the poneglyphs out in the open?
Yeah.
You put them in special places.
Mm-hmm.
See, now I'm more on the side of
the prime example, the road poneglyph in Fishman Island, it was moved. Oda's
Oh, it
putting
was,
in
yeah.
question. Yeah. Oda's putting in question that the moving poneglyphs is, you know.
Also, all three of Big Mom poneglyphs weren't there originally.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah, but original Big Mom had only one poneglyph, and now he has three. Or she has three.
Oh, Big Mom. Yeah.
Yeah, because she got
Yeah.
brought one by Jimbei too, and she had the road
They're
poneglyph
movable.
as well.
Yeah. Jimbei
Mhm.
lifted one.
Yeah,
They're movable.
well, technically,
not Jimbei.
Wadasume lifted it, and Wadasume
Oh, yeah, that's
carried
right.
it toward Jimbei to Big Mom's territory. But that's the thing is that she had another one before that, and she had a road poneglyph all before that because Roger had went there and read it,
Yeah.
stole it from her, and left.
And from what Nax said in the chat, you said something about telling the 30 individuals that got it to why they were so important. They themselves, honestly, I don't think any of them knew exactly why they were important, but that they were important.
That's all. No, I was saying like because he was like, how did people know they were important? And I said
That's
maybe
why,
he sent
Yeah.
30 translators right behind it.
But like I said, it would make
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what if instead of moving the poneglyph, what Lily and Toki did is they saved the people by moving them in time. When they reappeared at a time, like where no one would be looking for them, they started writing. And like I said, we've seen it. She does seem to not move. She has to do many skips, right? It doesn't seem that she can move 500 years in a go. It doesn't like it's like every 20 or 30 years. Or
Okay, you
at
mean?
least to that, yeah. So what if instead of like moving the poneglyph, what they first did is move people years in the future at a time where they might have been forgotten. Let's say 20, 30 years, right? If for 20 years you can't find someone, that's what happened to Momo. Kaido and Orochi start giving up looking for them. And they start carving those messages, making the poneglyph, you know? And that's what they meant by it's because of Lily's fault. They kept moving people through time. They couldn't reach
What's
those people.
so weird about to me is that the world government don't seem to have even one poneglyph. Why? I know they can't destroy them, but why can't they touch? Maybe they can't touch them, or I don't know. Why do they not have some of the poneglyphs? I mean, surely to God, over 800-year span, they were able to find them and move them if they wanted to. What's
Well, they
going on there?
absolutely found him because they
Yeah,
attacked O'Hara for studying him. So they knew O'Hara had him and they didn't take him. They just blew up the island.
I mean, probably they have a lot of poneglyphs in that world we saw, the giant straw hat.
You know what it makes me
Wait,
think?
what?
Sorry, can you repeat, Josh?
I'm saying they probably have a lot of poneglyphs in that world we saw, the giant straw hat. That no one, other than Imu and the Gorosei, no one knows about it.
Yeah, true. Actually, you're right. That's a good location. Actually, yeah, you're right. They could have been a place where certain poneglyphs are put aside. I might also have a take on what you were saying, Nak, and 3-Day, why they don't keep... There's actually a storyline that's similar. Alabasta. Remember when they explained on the whole coup and what Crocodile was trying to do? because of the loyalist on the side of Cobra, Crocodile had to act in a way that it wouldn't bring suspicion. So I'm wondering if the reason why is, and I'm wondering, like I said, if the Gords have illusion of power, what if there's some people who are actually very loyal to certain celestial dragon families, like like Mjosgard, people who are unaware of it, you know? Think about it. Both Homing and Mjosgard said the moment that they interacted with humanity, it changed how they saw the world. Imagine the existence of poneglyphs, and then maybe some of them knows how to read naturally poneglyphs, the celestial dragons, right? What happens if they start reading this old language, telling that they were told? So that's why I think that could be a reason. The problem is that moving them makes them accessible for certain people who they don't want to. It's a bit like why the NSA and the CIA exist. You know what I mean?
Oh my goodness, Brandon King said something. I have to say it. He said, with the pawpaw fruit allows people to move things through space. Toki Toki allows the user to spread things throughout time by touching them.
Yeah.
Controlling time and space. Oh my god.
Exactly. That's I think if you have to put Toki's fruit with Kuma's fruit, that would use both of them at the same time. It makes sense. That's why they can never find it. They were not only moving space, but they were also moved in time. And
Very
so when they
cute.
when they moved the people or the poneglyph, let's say in 50 years, there was someone waiting for them. Similar to how Crocus was waiting in Twin Cape for 50 years. Rayleigh has been waiting for almost 10 years in Sabaody. You've got Tanjit saying that he's been here and waiting for something for a long time. It could explain it. That's how the legend started. They started moving things through space and time by using both fruits.
That's brilliant. Absolutely. I wasn't catching on. I mean, I was hearing what you were saying before. It wasn't dawning on me that controlling space and time at the same time would actually just blew my mind. It did.
Because also part of me do believe they move poneglyph, but I said it could be simple. They move the people who then on those islands create the poneglyphs. Because I'm wondering if poneglyph, because we know poneglyph can be destroyed. I am wondering if the paw fruit does immune poneglyph from, you know, from taking damage when they land, you know.
Well, they're near indestructible, so I don't know if they could get damaged. I've never seen one damaged before. I don't think.
I don't think you land damage with the pawpaw fruit, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, that's just my only flaw. That's why I said this. That's why I would see them moving the people who then write the poneglyph message. But like I said, you guys might be right. It's just
What happened
the problem
to
is,
Bill?
I don't know. Maybe you know, sometimes it's his connection. He'll hop back in. No worries, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
no worries.
we had the same issue a little while ago. He was talking and it wasn't coming through.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, there he is.
Welcome back, Bill.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I had a phone call I had to take care of.
But yeah.
Oh,
No worries, man.
brother.
Brandon King, I want to thank you because it does seem that I was talking similar thing as you, but it does seem that I didn't word it correctly. So I do want to thank you. Yeah, the power of moving space and time could be interesting.
And if you had the power of space and time, you have the power to stop everything, to stop the universe.
You're able to
Right.
rewrite the laws of the universe because everything that has space affects time differently.
You wanted to talk about how a century could become void and no records be happening of it. Well, someone was controlling the space and time of that century.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and the
Even
fact
Brandon.
is, yeah, and the fact it's very interesting is the fact that Vivi seems to connect to every royal that Luffy connects to. The one royal that Vivi hasn't connected to yet is actually the son of Toki, Momo.
The two sovereigns.
Yeah, literally, you know. I think that's what I meant about the two sovereigns. It must have been the two sovereigns of all time, a long time ago. Must have been Toki and Lily, and now most likely is Vivi. It must be Vivi. And you think about it.
I thought it was Vivi and Shirahoshi. I thought that was going to be the twist.
It could be any of those three.
Yeah,
that would be Shirahoshi.
There's actually a parallel that changes Vivi and Momo compared to all the other royals that they saved. Vivi and Momo story basically made the two sagas. There's no Alabasta saga with the whole stuff happening without Momo connecting to Luffy. Without Vivi connecting to Luffy in Twin Cape in Whiskey Peak and telling his story. Saving of Momo.
Yeah, their arcs begin their sagas begin 3 or 4 arcs before.
Yeah. Which is interesting. All the other ones is in one arc storyline. You get Shiroshi only in Fishman Island. You get Rebecca only in Dressrosa.
Shirahoshi has to be one of them, though, right? Just because the Sea Kings were the ones talking about it. Like,
Yeah, but
I don't think we can take her out of the mix.
But didn't they give like 3 dates? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they said something about 3 days, but they also said when the 2 sovereigns meet, the whales will sing, and that's what I'm referring to.
Okay, they said the 2 sovereigns. Okay, I didn't know that. I thought they said the sovereigns.
Yeah, no. When the 2 sovereigns meet, the whales will sing, and it's like a lot of people said the 2 sovereigns were Shirahoshi and Luffy because, right, like that was the arc. But the more you look at it, Luffy's not going to be a sovereign of anything. He's not going to be king. He's going to be Park King. Sorry. I mean, no offense.
Oh, I think I know who are the 2 sovereigns, or at least on the thing. It must be Shiroshi and Vivi. Think about it.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, in the Reverie. Yeah, in the Reverie, exactly. They met.
And the whales will be happy.
Both of them having met Luffy and connected over the bond that they shared with Luffy.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, and then when they left Fishman Island, they ran into all the whales, and they were singing with the whales then. So it was making people think that it was definitely Luffy and Shirahoshi at the time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. At the time, I was 100% on board with that. But since Wano ended and Egghead's really been on the go, I've thought about how Vivi's been so much more important in the story again. And it's brought me back to like maybe Vivi was the sovereign they were talking about the whole time. Because Vivi is like the image of a royal in One Piece. She's like the diplomat, the princess to the people. She has all the people following her for her courage, her leadership. Like she is a sovereign, true born.
But and also like I was saying is also if you think about it, she's the only royal who spoke up. Made everything so Shirahoshi was saved, protected. So it could be that 800 years ago or even 200 years ago, there was another sovereign that represented Vivi, 20 years ago, that happened to say thing with a Poseidon or a mermaid. Maybe that could be the story, It's not about, but think about it. If Lily is also behind, right, this whole thing that happened 800 years ago, but Imu basically, even though Lily did not succeed, she did something to anger Imu and the Gorosei for 800 years, right? What if the consequences of that is they're destroying everything that Lily holds dear, like the protection of fishermen, because she was close to a certain princess, a mermaid princess. This will explain the discrimination towards fishermen afterwards. If Lily did the same thing 800 years ago, she protected the fishermen. What if her plan of the world government was always to include the fishermen until they realized the fishermen were never involved in all the other races, and thus, start to change things. Just a
What I
thought.
think's cool too is that we was talking about time and space, but right after they said that, the Sea King said, and I know it'll work out this time. Like they knew history was about to repeat itself, but this time they would win. And it made me kind of think that the time and space thing could be related to what they were talking about. Because they seem to have been alive during the Void Century. They seem to be old enough to be alive in the Void Century and remembered what had happened. It wasn't like they were talking about something they weren't a part of. They were talking like they witnessed what happened.
And to add to that, like because they say they also reference how when Luffy hears him speak, they're like, "Oh, remember that guy that was down here not long ago who could do that too?" And then one of them's like, "That was 20 odd years ago." He's like, "Oh, it feels like it was yesterday." Like, yeah, because they're 800 years old.
Yeah. But think about this, right? God Valley incident happened 30 years ago, and they actually wrote an article. How many people in the Marines actually remember the name God Valley? Exactly. Imagine creatures like that. It would make sense for them to even forget how they look like, but they just remember their identity. If everything is wiped out and they just work on their memories after 800 years, you would forget how a certain person would look like.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it would make sense, that their memories are a bit,
Well, the
lost.
perception of time has to be totally different than a short-lived creature like a human. You could imagine them just waiting. I mean, not just the whales would be happy, but I imagine the sea kings would be really happy too.
Yeah.
Especially if they were actually there.
Yeah, I think, and also basically every island we've seen associated with sea kings, sea beasts, sea cats, anything along those lines are going to be associated with the ancient kingdom. Like Impel
Oh, yeah.
Down, Amazon Lily, Dressrosa, Alabasta, Fishman Island. Basically, the sea kings are still hovering around all these islands that were allied back in the day.
Mm-hmm. True.
Love it.
Yeah. So that's an interesting one. Never thought of the whole. I always put Momo in it, but now I think Momo is more of a.
And Joe
Momo
This actually
Deep
explains
singer.
everything. Actually, if the whole thing was there was always a mermaid princess and an Nefertari coming up together, maybe trying to create an alliance. This can explain the giants as well, going to hiding, the Tataras losing their land, all of it. Think about it. Who does Vivi
And
connect
the
to?
reverence for sea cats.
Yeah, basically every nation that was allied to Lily most likely had those special races, and so when everything went down, to make sure it never comes back, they start going on a killing spree on those islands to never to avoid them from losing their holding. They don't want another Lily to ever happen again.
And Joe said in the chat, sure Hoshi even told Nami it's like I've seen or know you before or we've met before. That is a big statement.
Yeah, Tanami, but this is my I've said that many times. It's on my thing. I think Nami, the will of Nami was who they should kick the Asian weapon saw Nami as their mother. The mother figure, because she's the mother figure of the Straw Hats. Look at Zeus, those kind of stuff. So she saw her. I think that's who Big Mom is trying to emanate in the past. If she knows about certain legends, that legend and the Nika stories about that person, and I think she's trying to think about it. Big Mom has obsession with clouds and lightning. She has this obsession with Mama. Her mother, who adopted her, has the name Mother in it, Mama Caramel. Nami has all of that, but it's natural. But if you take Big Mom's dream is to create an utopia, a one place for everyone. But Nami's goal is to create a full map of the world.
I can make an argument that she's been a mother figure to the three sovereigns we met in the story so far too. Vivi, Momo, and Shirahoshi. She's guarded through some emotional trauma.
I would say more like she had family connection. I would agree with Momo, but Vivi definitely is like a sister.
A sister. Yeah. But I'd say I could, like, if I had to, I could argue she has done a lot for all the sovereigns, like to pick them up and give them resolution and resolve to stand up and fight again.
You got to think about it too. Vivi didn't really she also didn't have a mother figure, so having someone as that older sister figure for her is in a way replacing that mother figure position.
True. Yeah.
It's like Nami and Nojiko after they lost Belmere, they had each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's a great point.
Nami is the mother of the sea, the mom who can chart the sea. Love
Guess
that.
what? Well, you want to know something interesting? I've always told people that you should look into Freya, the Norse goddess that connects to weather, like Thor and Odin, but the good weather, so the sunlight. Her father of Freya is the god of sea, wind, and money. So what Srida is just saying that actually fits with Freya because of her father.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is why I fell in love with the story. You'll find these little inspirations and connections to legends all over the place in One Piece, and I can't get enough of it. Like, I'm gonna go check out that Freya story like as soon as the stream is done now, and I never would have if it wasn't for One Piece.
If you want, I can show you. I have a Google Drive. It's my Nami page about Nami. Like, people know I've been a fan of Nami since 2002, since I started One Piece. So it's like a huge mega theory. I have a nail on it. The guy from Wazeria talked about Nami's thing. Like, I'm convinced. This is I've always said. Either Nami is Uranus, or when Nami Uranus are gonna meet, Uranus is gonna know who Nami is. They're gonna have that instant connection because of how she's been written.
Hey yo.
Yeah, make sure you don't send the wrong Nami Google Drive.
Oh yeah, don't worry, man. It's also on my phone. It will
Oh no,
never
I was
disappear.
definitely talking about the fact that he didn't say Uranus.
I knew it was something about the way I said Uranus.
Yeah.
I said and by the way, I didn't talk about Asian weapon right now. Just kidding. But yeah, like, this is something I've always said to myself, and I'm convinced of this. If Nami at one point she's gonna get a crazy weapon to use while fighting with the Asian weapons, right? I believe Usopp will be the one to build it completely.
Right.
Yeah, like whatever Usopp will learn in elbaf, like, and we're also expecting Usopp to get a crazy weapon. I'm telling you, that crazy weapon, it's gonna be given to Nami. He does that all the time. He always keeps a slingshot, but when he does those extra stuff, he gives it to Nami. That's why I think it's very compelling, the storyline with Asian weapons, especially when you think about Usopp did something else that no other person in the story has done. He literally incorporated pop greens to his fighting style, but you know what else is always part of his fighting style and his weaponry? Dials from the Skylands.
Yeah, I missed
and Nami has this big thing with weather and sky. So I do think that Usopp will be the reason why Nami will get a huge boost at one point on a weapon he'll build for her. And what was it for?
Do the dials have a set amount of charges, or are they infinite?
Some.
The first ones, yeah. If I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I mean the early
why
ones.
He stopped using dial technology, right? He spent 2 years on the.
No, he has it. His Kabuto, his slingshots have dial weaponry already in it.
Yeah,
That's
they have the growth dial in it, right?
The growth dial. There's it's not the impact dial, but it's one of them. One of the impact or the other dial. That's why it moves so fast.
Oh well. Yes, no, that's right, and that's also why his projectiles can burst while they're in the air. There's impact dials and the projectiles. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So
the fact that he's learning,
doesn't use them physically anymore.
Yeah, so that's why I think that it could be an interesting thing with Nami. So at one point I thought she might be Uranus herself, which that would be crazy.
Yeah, I think that was floating around for a little while, actually.
And I'll say this, it does work because Nami is the only one who's been written like she was born different, like a chosen one. That weather thing that Arlong said as a child that she was born with, for me, is just weird.
I missed out on part of the conversation, but I do think there's a chance Nami still is going to be able to control Uranus. I think it could be Roger's egg that, since she controls weather.
Did you skip my whole rant, or?
No, I don't know. But I do think that Vivi is actually the one that's going to control all three. She's like the universal remote for all three ancient weapons. That's how she ties in. And like Lily had that ability, but Vivi was reborn the same way Shirahoshi was reborn as the ancient weapon. But Vivi would be able to control all three.
Oh, that's it's a fun thing because I'm actually have a counter for you because I believe for me I think Vivi has something with Pluton, but the reason why I think it's Nami because of Big Mom, her 3 miseries. She puts 3 of her different homies using it as one, and I've always wondered if that's how Nami she's gonna be able to gather the Asian weapons, the one navigator to get the Asian weapons to work for her. So it's interesting. I do believe like you just say Vivi, I say Nami, which is interesting. But I do like the take.
Yeah, there's way too many possibilities. That's just how it is. Until we get proof, and even if we get proof, we'll think Oda is lying to us. So we won't believe it. We will not believe it. We'll still be theorizing about this for years.
Yeah. The reason why I do believe Vivi has some sort of connection to Pluton is because of this whole thing of Pluton, where what happened to Pluton. It was supposed to be in Alabasta, right? But they were all convinced it was in Alabasta, and then they found out it was in Wano. Meaning that at one point, and then the way Vivi did stuff, she acted not like a navigator, she did like a captain. And I always wondered if Pluton's supposed to be this crazy battleship, alive or not. What does a ship need? A captain.
Exactly.
And if you
Exactly.
look at her in her time with the Straw Hats, she spends more time teaching Luffy how to become a better captain than anything else. Like equal, like they're both supposed to lead the world at one point, and she's teaching him the necessary stuff to be at her level.
What I don't get is how Crocodile even knew about it. Why he was there. I mean, at that time though, whenever the poneglyphs were spread, it told that Pluton was in Wano, so it had to have been moved a long time ago. If it was there.
You know what my headcanon is on this whole thing? Sounds crazy, but I've always wondered is the reason why Crocodile knows. And remember when Robin was lying, he didn't believe her and got crazy? I'm wondering if it's his fruit. His fruit is connected to Pluton, and the last thing the fruit knew is that it's in Wano. Is in Alabasta. And so when he lied, his instinct told her that she's lying because I know it's here. He just doesn't know where in Alabasta it is, I've always wondered if it's his fruit because he has an interesting fruit, of all things.
He should be able to feel with the sand thing. He should be able to feel underground for all through Alabasta. I mean, or anywhere for that matter.
But that's the thing. That's the beauty of it. That can explain why he was going crazy. He could not feel it, and he was wondering maybe he's not. You know what I mean? Like he was so convinced because of what he had inside him, because of an instinct, that everything was telling him. It's a bit like when you're convinced that this theory is going to work, but you have all the proof. Even Oda's actually writing his best to discredit you, but you're saying no, it will happen. It will happen. Some people have those agendas. Yeah, but it's
Will said Nami was born from Roger's egg and is the One Piece. Oh Lord.
Oh no.
What about you, Josh? What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah.
Like right now,
Yeah.
what do you think is the most pressing thing that's about to happen?
I think the most first thing is Sora's getting out of there and going to elbaf.
You think they're going straight to elbaf?
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's one thing. The only thing that's more important than elbaf is the moon. So we're either going to elbaf or to
Oh no. We're not going to the moon. Nope. Nope.
We can go. I'm fine with it. I just doubt it. I think Oda would do anything,
I'm in the camp of we can pretend the moon isn't even there in the story.
Okay, what about this? Is the earth-shattering event they were talking about Vegapunk's speech? Or is it something
Nope.
else?
Gonna be oh my god, what are you trying to say? Is this Majora's Mask? The moon is coming down?
No. My mind was already on that before the moon stuff, but yeah, hey, let's go with that one. Let's do that.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. You see the geocentric model in O'Hara, and it has multiple moons. Multiple.
Or it could
We
be
only know one. We only see one in the sky. Like,
I mean, those could be
five-
other planets.
Yeah,
those could be
that's
other
true.
planets. You are correct. Definitely could
Yeah,
be. But
there's a note when they talk about the notes, they talk about 7 moons, but they say that one of the moons, so the 7th moon, is much smaller than all the other moons. So, and I remember someone made a fear about it. Said, what if basically all the other ones, the 6 of them, are planets, but what is the smallest is actually an actual moon?
that could be the case. I've seen people suggest that the reason we don't see them all in the sky anymore is because the 5 Coruscant are 5 moons.
That would be great.
People were talking about that, and they were talking about how because it can tie in with the other 3 missing ones would be the ancient weapons names, because all of
Right.
those are the Roman gods or the representative planets of those gods. There's Neptune, there's Poseidon, Pluton and Uranus, and we have the rest of the gods as the Gorosei, followed by the sun being Luffy. Yeah.
I'm not sure who popularized this theory, so it's not mine. I'll definitely say that. But the idea is that the people used to worship these gods, and with the same force that made devil fruits, like the worship of these planets caused them to manifest into these beings of just energy. And that's what the 5 Gorosei are.
Ooh. Okay. No, it's an interesting thing when you think about that, about the whole moon stuff. I'm a big believer of, even though I do believe there's some stuff about the moon, I don't think it's as big as people believe, because I still find it very weird that, other than that cover story in Skypiea,
I will say one
there's-
thing.
there-
I will
there's-
give Josh his flowers. If we go to the moon in the next 5 years even, I will personally congratulate Josh.
and my whole thing is that Skypiea was what, chapter 150, 200 something.
Yeah.
The fact that
Yeah.
in what, close to, we're close to what's called, let's say for at least 850 chapters, as an else cover story, there's almost nothing on the whole space lore or moon lore. I'm not saying, I'm not the one to saying there's nothing at all with the moon, but I feel like there's a twist to it. And so Oda wanted us to to hype up on it, because I think there's something to it, because it's kind of weird that there's almost nothing in story that connects back to it, other than NL. I do believe there's a reason why he did it, but I'm just very curious about it. I've always wondered, what if it's a propaganda they created a long time ago, making some people believe that they're not from this planet?
I like that too. And our local legend, Will of Dreams, who's in the chat today, has talked about the spacesuits and stuff like that many a time that celestial dragons wear.
Yeah. Like,
Well,
people
thinking
think,
somebody are gods, they would think they're not from the same planet, I guess.
Exactly. If you wear those suits, wouldn't you think that you're, like, if you think, best example is, we all believe Nozuro is from Wano, obviously his style, but also the way he wears his clothes, right? It would be logical
Right.
that maybe the Celestial Dragon were meant to believe, if they're the true king of this planet, right, that they're the ones who are not welcome here. You took over this planet. But they keep that culture because they lost their planet, a whole propaganda. But it could have been that they might have lived in harmony at one point with the people on the planet as well. And they got corrupted,
Well,
and they made them believe they're not from here.
on that note, if they're from the moon or not from the anyway, where are the Neptunians from? Are they actually from Neptune? I mean, that's kind of crazy, but still, it made me think that.
But
honestly,
it's
I-
the original inhabitants of
I
the
can-
land. Wolf
Yeah.
Sea.
I wouldn't mind if that was the case. They were actually from Neptune, because we see in the cover story of the moon that there's something that looks like a sea king that helped build the structures up there.
I mean,
But
Or it
there's
could-
also an interesting idea that the sea kings are just members or citizens of the ancient kingdom that were turned
mhm.
on whatever happened.
Yeah, I'm gonna go in because that's one of my Dressrosa. Look at the toys when they're transformed back to human. But if you look at them as toys, they literally represent every special thing we see in the world of One Piece. Animals, people with long arms, short arms, toy soldier, robotic, like weird noses. And I'm wondering if, and we know something. We know that fishmen and humans are not the same race. Yet Jinbei can give blood to a human. So I'm wondering if, in the core, they were all human, but because of everything that happened with the world government, they have a power or means to affect how you see people. Like, what if the curse of Zunisha, when they say Zunisha is one of the only few of his kind left, what if they were never mentioning his race, but him being a member of Joy Boy's crew? What if Zunisha looked like someone else? And the reason why we've never seen anything like Zunisha is that, or there's very few of them, is because there are people who got cursed. A bit like Wano, that lion that seemed to be very protective over Otama, just like a family member.
That's a dog.
Dog?
A
Yeah, I
dog.
call it a lion. Dog, okay.
It looks like a lion dog then.
Yeah. But anyways, like a family member. And we've had that in Dressrosa, where they found out that some toys were protected that way because they were their family members that they forgot. So it wouldn't shock me that, just people can't understand them, so they, they're cursed that way. You have sipping and shrill bark.
Oh, sorry. I just had a question. Have we been told what the log pose is going to point to after leaving Egghead?
Nope.
So that is the log pose. Log pose wasn't even pointing to Egghead. We don't know what
Yeah, I
island
know that, but
their log pose is heading to.
Would it readjust on an island it wasn't pointed to?
Nope.
Ooh. So it's still pointed at the original island from elbaf,
Yes.
from Wano.
From Wano, but yeah, it's more so likely that us going to elbaf is going to be used through some giant method of locating the island, or they have an internal pose or something along those lines of they have an immediate out to get back home if they need to.
Yeah. 2 seconds, wait. Because I'm seeing the chat, more than one message about it. Yes, we know that full spoilers are out, but no talk about the spoiler. It's a no spoiler stream.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump on that too. This is for any fan, even fans that aren't reading the spoilers. We're just here chilling, talking One Piece. No problem. Like, you want to read spoilers, no sweat. Just come back and chill with us after.
Yeah, I literally read them and posted them as this has been going on. Just didn't say anything about them.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Appreciate that, chat.
Perfect. Yeah, I know no one's spoiled. I'm just seeing people there will be then someone else who will just drop that one sentence. No one has spoiled yet. Just, a reminder.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, Dylan and Nick, for jumping in. You guys were talking.
Oh, it's totally fine. Totally fine. I am a little off topic though now. What were you just saying, Dill? Oh, we were talking about the log poses. That's correct.
Yeah. So I think that it's either through some sort of eternal pose that the Giants have a way back, or it's something a lot simpler, and we find out that they are the originators of Fever cards, and that information was handed to Wano citizens, and they were able to make their own along those lines. But we still haven't got the full fleshed out of how Fever cards are brought into this world.
Yeah, that's a big mystery too, right? Because how does it relates back to, again, Will of Dreams, one of Will of Dreams' favorite topics, the trees, because life force seems to be tied to the trees, and what's paper made out of is made out of trees, and then the Viver cards act like a life force of somebody. All seems connected in a way you can't just quite put your finger on.
So I'm gonna say something that's crazy about Viver card. I think the technology behind creating Viver card is the same technology about log poses. Because the way it describes it, except you can say that a Viver card is literally an internal log pose of something. You always hone into it, and just like a log pose, the Viver card goes crazy and starts moving if you don't hold on to it. Just like the log pose when you get closer and closer. So I do believe that they might share the same origin. The same people behind log pose might have been the same people behind the Viver card.
Interesting.
Now,
log poses are magnetic, right?
Yeah, the magnetic pole or something like that. But the Viver cards are just crazy weird. How do they do that? Really?
I can give you a rough idea of what I'm thinking in my head. Is that these pieces of paper are actually made of part of the will or soul of whoever the Viver card's for, and when a soul is separated, it longs to go back together. So instead of the person getting pulled to the paper, the little piece of paper is always going to get pulled to the person just from relative strength of the will.
Yeah.
I know that something about a fingernail once on how to make them. Was that it?
Yeah, any part of DNA.
Creating.
So basically, it says it's made of. That's what I'm saying. It's a piece of paper made from someone's fingertips.
Fingertip.
Yeah.
Fingernails.
Fingernail.
Fingernail. Fingernail.
The
Sorry.
wet
Yeah.
fingertips sounded more like something else.
Yeah,
That's
you need
so
to cut your
fucking
finger.
metal. Here, cut off all my fingernails.
Let me cut off your finger so I can find you later. Oh God, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Lord.
And what's
Yeah,
also
no,
interesting
there's
is
something
the
though,
word
because-
is also the word they use for vivre card. It's a French word. People say, yeah, it means living, right? But to be
Yeah, a lot
alive,
of
no. That's not what it means. The word vivre means the same sentence as Robin says. I want to live. When you say vivre, is the fighting to wanting to live. Because vivre is the verb.
Also-
So you never use vivre unless someone is actually trying to tell someone, I want to live. Or else you don't. Or else it becomes a word. Je vis, tu vis, il vit. But you use that term. Usually, it's closer to what Robin said. So that's why I find it interesting that that's the definition for it. Vivre card.
And
I
you know
like
when
that.
that Cypher
Yeah.
Pole fella talked about the full body control where he was moving his hair. What's the term he used? Life return, was it?
Life
Mhm.
return,
He,
yes.
Yeah.
he mentioned how it goes from the tips of his fingers to the strands of his hair. So hockey is in your fingernail. So they're cutting off a piece of your fingernail for that hockey. And that hockey wants to go back to the source. That's what I'm thinking this is. I don't know the process to make them, but I'm thinking that's what's needed, is the hockey.
I
Yeah.
like Wheel of Dreams' explanation. He said, like Brooke's soul and shadow seeks out the body like vivre cards. That's very interesting.
What if vivre card were used as a form of transportation? Because there's something that says in the wiki that's very interesting. It says, aside for lock pose, a vivre card is one of the only method of navigating the Grand Line. Unlike long poses, which locks on the magnetic field of a certain island, a vivre card can direct towards the user of a location of a specific island. Why vivre card started with, let's say certain islands moved, right? And you had the vivre card of someone, or when someone finds the island, sends them a bird. I found the island, our homeland. What happens? They travel. That could have been the beginning of the vivre card. They lost places, but in the only way possible, if they wanted to look for someone, they had his vivre card.
Yeah, I mean that's the only way to get to Zunisha anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Like Zunisha, Zo.
Do we have any idea what the paper is made from exactly?
All it says that the paper. Yeah, all they know about this paper is that it's fire and waterproof. One hell of a it's one hell of a material. That I'll say.
Yeah, so it might not say that it needs DNA in the wiki, and nail clippings do have DNA, but at one point in the story, it says the actual thing they need from the body part was the creatine. The stuff that makes your fingernails, the stuff that makes your hair.
Creatine.
Yeah.
Is that it?
That's what they needed as the actual thing from the clipping to make the vivre card. Not necessarily DNA, but it is still something your body produces. That's unique to you.
But and even in the Whole Cake Island, when Nami had Big Mom's vivre card, that was kind of crazy how it gave off part of her soul was in it. So I forgot about that until just now that she had. They said soul force was in there.
Yep. Yes. 100%.
It's interesting. I was just curious on why nail clipping, those kind of stuff, and apparently there's a protein that is located in your nail, hair, and your skin. Keratin. The outside part of your skin, keratin. Which I do wonder if it's also have to do with the keratin. Guys, I'm a French speaker, so the word must be different in French. That's why I never heard of it in English. That's why.
I probably pronounced it wrong. I was pronouncing it creatine, like CREA.
Yeah, I was saying it wrong too. Actually,
that's some weightlifting.
But we're all talking the same stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Creatine
Pre-workout, yeah, but no, it's
It sounds like the word cretin, you know, cretin. That's why.
Keratin.
Yeah. I thought you guys were saying cretin. That's why.
Yeah, that's what probably was what I was saying because I'm, you know, Newfoundlander and I fucking talk like I got marbles in my mouth.
I was saying it totally wrong. I forgot what the
Yeah,
word was. I
that
had some
is
of the
what
right
we're thinking of.
letters.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
some of the
exactly what
letters.
we were thinking of, Cube. Because that's like unique to every individual person has your unique composition to that. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So it's
yeah,
like
that's
DNA,
true.
but it's not your lineage factor of DNA of the One Piece world. It's a
But it's
different.
crazy. How did Soul Force wind up in Big Mom's Viva card though? And it can tell if somebody's about to die. They're going to die. I mean, it starts to burn. That's just wild.
Yeah, because it's part of your body, part of your soul is in there. Like it's connected.
Their flames burning out. That's crazy.
I think it actually has to go back to that. I don't remember his name, but that Cypherpole agent that could control his hair and stuff. Like, there's hockey in every aspect of your body, whether you can tap into it or not. So they take a bit of that, and we know hockey is your willpower. And your willpower is your soul representation of your willpower. So there's actually a bit of your soul in the Vivre card, and so whatever that does to the card, it makes it so it can't be destroyed without you dying, which is very interesting because
It's like the Shadow Soul reference again.
That could be why the Gorosei, or that could be why the Gorosei aren't taking any damage because their bodies are like their bodies and they're
like a Vivre
fucking
card.
yeah. And what's on Egghead right now is like their Vivre card version.
For me, is with all of this, it goes in what I do believe of what Roger was saying. The satellite, what Atlas also said. Roger said, "I won't die, partner." Atlas says, even if my body is destroyed, I can come back whenever they need me, and I can change how I look like. And then this is a panel with Kaido I found. If you want, for all the other people, it's the episode. It's this chapter where Kaido takes out Odin with the gun. And before he does, it says, "I'm going to give you peace, considering that your body is already dead." He was sure of it, Kaido. Yeah. And he looked at Odin, and Odin was just working on his will. Same thing as Whitebeard. Half his brain was destroyed, while Vegapunk says damaging the brain is very dangerous. But yet he's able to work until the end. So I'm wondering if the Viva card does not connect to a person's heart or soul, but to its body. So when the more the body is dying, so is the Viva card. Nothing to do with the heart, the mind, or the soul, or but connects to that person's body. So if you need another Viva card of that person, you need to find him in his next reincarnation,
Well, when Ace was rescued, right after he was rescued, I think his Viva card went back to a full sheet, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And because he got,
I don't know if
because
it was a full
because he
sheet.
got physical.
Luffy only ever had a corner.
Yeah. It got a bit higher.
Back off.
It got a bit higher, but not that much. It could be just losing the Karaseki made him physically stronger. It's all about his physical, his kind of makes me think of what's called when you go to the doctors and do all the blood pressure stuff like that, they see about your body, It could be that,
I wonder if it had anything to do with getting the sea stone handcuffs off of him too, though. Because he was still gonna die. But
I think it was a reflection of his hope, though. I think it was when he wanted to live again is when the Viva card started coming back. And he's like, I don't know. There's such a confusing thing. Like, because I see what you're saying, 3, because they get damaged as your life force is drained.
Right.
And he didn't heal. Nothing. You know what I mean?
He got put in sea stone handcuffs, he I mean, I was just wondering if him not being able to use his devil fruit too and being weakened by sea stone cuffs, if that had anything to do with why it was burning. I mean, no, I don't know or anything. It just made me think of that because Not that he was just saved too, but he did lose the 6 stone cuffs.
Yeah, I thought I
Which
had an
made-
answer, but like they're way too confusing, honestly, because at one point they said as you take damage, they'll burn up, and as you're close to death, they'll burn up. And then another point, it's filling back up, and characters haven't healed, they haven't escaped the turmoil they're in. They're still just as damaged. Like I'm talking specifically Ace right now. Like his card refilled, and like you said, he wasn't out of danger. He wasn't healed up. The only difference was he had a mindset change where he actually wanted to try to survive now.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it's all based on your attitude. Like, you could be taking the worst kind of damage ever, but if you're not giving up, the VV card won't show any signs of damage.
Yeah, when he was in jail, he had really already give up, you know.
Didn't it?
So Jody boy, my take wasn't that that basically death isn't final for them. They come in a different cycle if they're demanded, just like Devil Fruit, just like the satellite. That was my take. I see what you're saying. Also, what you guys were saying about Viewer Card, you know what it made me think of? That's a whole concept of Devil Fruit reincarnation. Devil Fruit leaves the body once the host body is dead.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's literally almost the same pattern. It's just the semantics are, obviously different.
We had a good talk about fruits the other night. Like, I'm not sure where we landed on the one idea of how wills get imprinted on fruits. Like, if a fruit user has a stronger will than the previous user, that's the will that this fruit's going to carry on now. It's not necessarily like carrying specific wills from the Void Century. Some are because they were very powerful, but like that's why Ace's will got passed on, because Ace's will was actually more powerful than the original Mara user. So that's why his will went on to Sabo.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
The Nika fruit now, that you're not going to have a more powerful willpower than the Nika fruit, so it'll always be that constant.
This can explain
energy.
Also something. Think about it. Ace was dead, but his Vyrkar was still burning. Just like when Whitebeard was dead, but yet Blackbeard was still able to take his fruit. What if basically the Vyrkar represent the soul inside the body? And so when it burns out, it's like the soul leaving that body. So basically, since it's connected to that body, it can't follow the soul anymore. Why the Vyrkar has nothing to do with the body, but the soul itself.
21 grams.
That's what I was saying, because it's weird that they just needed like a fingernail when it showed completely that Big Mom's soul was part of hers, because it scared all the things, the trees and all that on Hoe Cake. So Soul Force was a part of it.
Actually, you know what? It reminds me of a famous quote that Dill says all the time. You know what they say? The nail is the sword of the swordsman. Yeah, it makes sense now. I just made that up for those.
Said that.
Yeah.
What?
I was like, that doesn't even make sense.
Thought it would be fun to add some spices, a bit of Bigger's Morgan propaganda. But yeah, that's quite interesting, honestly, this whole soul thing. This has to be everything. It's how the soul interacts with things. Viva card. It's same thing maybe with lock posts as well. What if the lock posts connect to a certain soul? Like the soul of the island, if an island has a soul, Because we're talking about the trees having soul. Wouldn't the island itself be considered like having his own soul as well? And we know that there's such a thing as the island fruit,
Mm-hmm. Island fruit's so interesting too. Because watching that recent anime episode made me realize one thing very peculiar about it that Pika didn't have the same capabilities of. He knows everyone's location at all times.
Because Pika basically can can travel. It's basically him traveling through the stone,
rocks,
the stone. Yeah. While the other one merges, becomes the land itself.
And that's a big thing, because like that's That's espionage. Like, okay, this guy's here, this guy's here, this guy's here. I don't even have to use the island fruit as a destructive force. I can use it to infiltrate Maryjo and tell you exactly where to go, exactly where everybody's to, what they're doing right now. Like, there's no better strategic point on the battlefield than what is it, King Pizarro?
Yeah, he is the battlefield.
Yeah. I honestly, I glazed right over it when reading. That is a huge, huge difference. Like, there's a point where Kobe's literally in like an alleyway, like completely covered up, like shaded over, like hidden from everybody, and Pizarro still knows exactly where he's to. It's just like next level.
Dude, the next level is, don't forget Dr. Correa. Dr. Correa knew exactly when Dr. Took was gonna die. Like the exact afternoon, remember?
Yeah.
As you know, you'll die in 3 days at this time. If you think about it, so
Who knows the will of D.
Yeah. So it kind of makes you think that those Vykthor card, and don't forget, how did Emu put the death sentence for Lulusia? By crossing out its name on a book, on a piece of paper. So I do believe this Vykthor card stuff is much bigger than we think it is.
Paper's made from trees. If the trees are important, the paper's going to be important.
Yeah, it's true. Oh, Will is on fire in the chat. Lodestar, lodestone rocks, so I can magnetize object like compass to point at them instead of true north. Unless like Antarctica, the red line is both land and ice, meaning he can't merge with it completely. Oh, he's talking about that.
Right. Yes, actually, me and Will had a conversation about that earlier. Because it could explain some of the coloring and the winter island stuff and the cold currents around it. Yeah, no. I'm just gonna say, Will, you gotta start writing these theories up and getting them out, man. These are all fucking bangers. Mind my French.
Don't worry, we're working on something for all of the people's, all of the chefs in here to be seen and to be fed by their crazy food. Because they're all
because it's a great point. Because we see Morley, he's able to dig into Marijoa, but we also see that where the straw hat is stored is a frozen area. Like even the walls are frozen.
Yeah, it could also be like in Wano. Think about it. Certain foods could be used like that in Wano, but not in the borders of how condensed it is.
I didn't realize that.
So
Morley couldn't go through the borders of Wano?
No, what I'm saying is, no. Remember how they describe the borders of Wano, but they look inside in Wano. I'm sure those foods can have an easier way inside. You know what I mean? Like it could be maybe the outer part of the red line is much harder. So it's like basic, like anything that someone's building. Pressure point, right? You create pressure points, and even the most strongest wall will crash and burn. So it could be that Morty maybe knew exactly where to go on the island, to go underground. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if you're going to continue on that point or not.
I was just catching up with the chat.
But
I agree. No, it'd be tough. I don't know if we can say for sure, but
yeah. So that's why I think it could be also logical. I think you could go to the red line or some extent, but most likely the outer part is was basically reinforced, or they did something to make sure that it never happens. You know. It's like my whole fear about it's my whole fear about the barbarian army used against Odin, and it's very interesting if you look at them compared to Barto. Whenever Barto uses it as like a vertical object, you know, like a flat object, like a wall, it has limits, right? And the only time where he can hit without hurting himself whatsoever is when he creates a sphere on his hand, right, and punches people, mimicking Luffy. When he does with Odin, they only use it as a sphere, and you don't see what's happening behind it. And I've always wondered, what if the barrier is just moving the damage elsewhere? He's controlling where in the barrier it could take. It basically, he reinforced the front part of the barrier, and it's very interesting. Someone showed me the panel. If you look at him when they're fighting, because of the heads of both Orochi and the old geezer, you can't really tell what's happening behind them. Like maybe there are cracks. Because it's still, think about it, it's Odin. You're telling me that Isabella II makes more damage to Barto's shield, who is definitely stronger than that old geezer, Kurozumi, who doesn't even let Odin dent it. Who Odin definitely is much. Think about this. And Barto was weaker than Zoro and Dressrosa. Right now, Zoro is reaching Odin's level because Odin was a master of Enma, while Zoro is learning how to use Enma. So it could be the same thing.
Right.
In the world, there might be some places where they reinforce certain areas, but some areas are much weaker because of that. Sorry, I went on a whole tangent.
No, that's great. I love listening to him because it brings up a lot of great points. Because, well, I don't know if we want to get into it, but it's like Bartel wasn't even trying using his fruit, if that's the case.
Yeah.
Like he was purposely showing a weaker version of himself, what you could say.
Mm-hmm. It could be the shape it could be the shape of it. By making it into a flat thing, it might be more easier to control, or it could be used as an offensive, because that's the reason, to use as an offensive thing, but you lose on the defensive part. Which makes me think of what? Lunarians do the same thing. They have an offensive version of their race and a defensive. So we're heading most likely the last 30 to 20 minutes of the stream. Anyone has like and we can go over the initial question. Do you guys have prediction on where we're going, on the stuff that's going next, or on certain characters? It's a chill stream, guys. Go crazy.
I was wondering if anybody else thought that the Lunarians, if they were up there, if they were like Game of Thrones watchers on the wall, and the wall was there to separate monsters from the peaceful side of the world at one point. That's a bad tangent.
Not a bad tangent at all. If you look at the actual layout of citizens, all the humanoid type species, the I wouldn't call them subhuman, but the semi-human species in One Piece are all on the New World side, and all the generic human class is on the Paradise side. And that was probably intentional reason. The discrimination against the fishmen is probably just like the beginning. If they knew there was minks, I can imagine there'd be mink discrimination too. If they knew there was dwarves, I'd imagine there'd be dwarf discrimination too. It's just that the fishmen have access to both sides. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
the only reason they're the ones
associating that with how they treated the wildlings, and then the Fishman Island would be the hole through the wall where people could get through.
Yep, exactly.
Yes, wild take.
It could also be more like, what if it's similar, but what if it's similar to, well, interesting enough, to some of y'all's actually history? Think about it. The Europeans who decided to go to the Pacific, like Australia, New Zealand, and to the America, the New World, were basically Europeans who were sick. Some of them were protesting their church. There were different reasons. And some of them were also criminals who didn't want to do their time or do military. So instead they say, you go to the New World. What if it's that?
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of problem there. And at one point there was this other part of the world. So they decide to, you know what? If we're not loved here, let's go to this other land. And there's maybe this benevolent king inviting them, And some would say that it's a very ancient kingdom. What the New World was where the ancient kingdom mostly was. And they started by making something that's inhabitable. And then the people on the other side who hates them, they don't like that, It could also be that some people started moving into that part of the world, similar to the New World, to live a new life, not to be oppressed.
Right.
And it's literally called the New World. And
Paradise.
America literally
Paradise is a really odd naming.
And going to America was literally saying going to the New World.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, it was. It was, yep. But the paradise side of the name implies like you want to be on this side. Like this
Yeah.
is the paradise. Don't you
Yeah.
dare venture out of here. Why would you want to leave paradise?
Where all the
Yeah.
monsters are on the other side of the wall.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. And you got the Sea
Dill,
Kings boxing me in.
yeah, Dill, you were good. Yeah, I know. At one point, you were about to say something.
Oh
I saw
yes,
you.
yes, yes.
That's no longer in my head. I'm sorry.
Don't worry.
I'm so sorry.
ADHD brain.
I was
We
listening to
understand.
what y'all was saying, and I was like, "Oh, this would be pretty cool," and then it just completely went out of my head.
I'm so sorry.
No,
Oh,
it's
Yeah,
that's
no
not
worry.
So for
Story
what
of my
I
life.
think is like the situation leading from here is we have obviously it's still going to be the world splitting up and choosing which faction they're siding with, which side they believe, and which telling of events that they think are truth and all that. I think we're
Well,
going to
yeah.
get a more clear cut and dry expansion of like the world powers, like how we had the Marines, the warlords, and the world government all were teamed up to keep the balance between them, the Yonkos, and the regular people of the world. It's going to be inside of those groups are going to be the people that believe this to be truth or this to be truth, and it's going to cause infighting in almost all the groups except
Oh,
for the like the main groups of pirates, because obviously if they're already sailing the seas to claim Roger's treasure, the One Piece, they don't care that the world's going to be in a certain type of ruin because of it, because they're already actively pushing for that already.
Excellent.
Cook.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Excellent points. And the point you said about what the people decide is going to be their truth is going to be the key here.
Yeah.
Like, because
Yes.
a lot of people are assuming Luffy's going to have the support of the masses because of Vegapunk's message. But Luffy in the news is a demon. The people see Luffy as a monster. Like, the public doesn't know Monkey D. Luffy. They know, the Straw Hat Luffy, the guy who broke all those prisoners that have been impaled down.
Yeah, the Yonko that showed up to every single island and has either taken out the ruler or destroyed their entire system beforehand.
Yeah, like.
And it leads me to. Oh, sorry, Jeff.
Yeah, Vegapunk said the fate of the world is in the hands of whoever finds the One Piece.
Yep.
Yeah, there's going to be a mad scramble for that too. And it makes me wonder if people believe in Morgan's story now is going to cause Luffy problems. Like, Luffy, not in because I've said it before, but not in the spirit bomb sense, but he needs the support of the people to reach his full potential. Like, he needs belief in Nika. And if people think Nika's a mass murderer. Yeah, we did have that in Wano. Yeah.
No, well, not even in Wano. During Vegapunk's speech, whenever he goes on telling about how these events have affected the world, and it cuts away, and we see half of the people arguing, yeah, well, Vegapunk must have been taken out because we read the news, and the news said Straw Hat Luffy had taken him hostage. And then the other side of it was like, yeah, but we've seen all this good that he's done. It may not be him.
Exactly. And they won't be able to, a lot of people won't side with the Revs because they think that Cobra was killed by Sabo.
Yep.
No way will
And
they
Dragon's
choose that.
the world's most dangerous criminal.
So I was listening in while I was doing something quickly at the same time, but there's also a thought on why, if a long time ago they Ishikita made the new world and had livable and people hated it, right? What do we know about the flamingo? It means that one of the means of the celestial dragon is asking money, taxes, right? And then they do it with King Riku to have people hate him. What if it's a bit like in our world, right? Where people are questioning sometimes like, look at that country, we're paying this much, but they're doing so much better than us. But imagine if their politics would come to the opposite. They, literally having such a nation would cause the collapse of their own. All the luxury. What if there are people who don't care about the riches? Oh, money's not that important. Oh, being the richest person living in the biggest castle is not important, Think of people like Luffy, the D-clans. those are people who don't care about those kind of stuff, you know. They're simple people, most of them. You know, imagine if a kingdom that rivals you has a different mantras than you. You know,
Right.
could actually scare them into I was going to say submission, but you know, thinking that. But this is why I've always wondered. Don't you find it weird that there's an actual place in the world of One Piece that has Imu's name on it? Impel Down.
Sure.
It has Im in it.
Oh.
And it's literally at the end of the paradise, almost connected to the calm belt, you know. So it kind of makes you think of, and it's a place where there's no sunlight and moonlight that comes in. So that seems to connect it to a lot of the sicknesses that connect to world government, you know. So that's why I'm always wondering, you know, like, what if Imu used to be the warden of the world?
That's basically what Emu is.
Right now, yeah.
Yeah.
It could be that Imu only dealt with the worst of the worst, you know? A bit like Nami. Think about it. How Nami would have been with fishmen when she was younger. Instead of meeting Arlong, she would have met Fisher Tiger, or Hack, or Jinbei. Yet she met the one fishman who believed that obviously he's not like without reasons. Obviously, you know, he's like, it's still bad, but there were reasons of his hate, you know? Yeah, also Will has I just want to drop this chat of Will because it follows what I said. It's just more very funny, and I think everyone will have a laugh. So when I talk about the name Im is on Impel Down, and Will says it has Pel too. I knew after he got blown up and came back to not to trust him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I got a spicy thing to point out to people before we close things down. We've been talking recently about Emu and how he was introduced, or she was introduced, as Saint Emu of the Nerona dynasty. And the saint of a dynasty is not the ruler of a dynasty. It is an ambassador. It is a speaker for the dynasty.
Yeah.
There's a good chance Emu was never one of the kings.
Wait, hold on. All right, so next. On that same vein and note, all of the Gorosei's names have saint in them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what you're saying right now, sorry to jump in, but don't you find it interesting that Akainu does not care about the Gorosei's threats? But the moment that Celestial Dragons are involved, what does Akainu says? Oh, no, we have to follow protocol. It's the Holy Knights who handle that. A Celestial Dragon of Kuma treats him like shit. Akainu looks at him and acts on it. But when the Gorosei tell him to go after Kuzan, he says, oh, it's not our problem. He talks back to them. So I do agree with what Dill is saying right now. I don't think the Gorosei, if they're considered to be Celestial Dragon, they have the same ranks. They might be the lowest level of Celestial Dragons. Just we think they're the highest because they write in their title. What does they say? We're the highest authority. And that's like people who have to prove their worth, you know?
In a sense, I was more thinking like that Emu could be like a third party to one of the members, like not a third party to an advisor to one of the members of the coalition of the 20 Kings. And that's how they manipulated the outcome of the battle to end up on top.
Yeah, like Orochi.
The 5 Gorosei they implemented were called Saint based on his title because he didn't want to follow the titles of these kings who were beneath
the word you're looking for is a branch. Orochi, even though he wasn't a Kozuki, being the dynasty of Wano, because the same thing of Imo. He could just be a branch like the Gorosei. Best example is, logically, we all agree, the working the Celestial Dragons are the ones who don't have all the power. It's the one who don't work, who live a leisure, the true kings, you know what I mean? Like, that's a lot of power. You don't do anything, you can have fun 24/7. So you could even say that maybe St. Carlos might be a main branch Celestial Dragon, and the Gorosei and Imu a lesser branch like Orochi. Still has power among the people, but when they're among kings, they're outranked. the blood is less valuable in a way. I know it's very Cecil Dragon of me of saying that. Ooh.
No, that was a awesome, spicy talk. Actually, there was a surprisingly different takes on what's gonna happen coming.
Yeah. And so with that, yeah. So with that, unless if someone else has some extra last spicy take, speak your truth now or forever get erased like a certain nation that used to be called the Lucia, apparently.
I was just thinking about the regeneration on the Gorsei, because it does seem like, yes, they can regenerate their body and all that, but what's up with the clothes and glasses part? I mean, how can they regenerate that? That seems like something totally different going on.
Yeah, that's kind of weird, but Oda talked to that a long time ago because someone kind of attacked him on an SBS about Luffy in Little Garden. Remember that whole fire scene, right? Where only his upper body his clothes got burned, but not the lower part. And he did say that, I do be careful on when people lose their clothes. That's why people who are animals, who are Zoans, they can. He talked with not animals. He said even people who could transform will always keep their clothes because I can't have people walking around naked. There are kids reading my story.
Okay.
So he did address stuff that he does say. Its best example is Kaido doesn't lose his pants.
Oh yeah, okay. I understand.
So because of that, I think there is something with the glasses, but I think sometimes some of the clothes stuff is like just Oda's style because he's addressed. Again, you might be right as well. That's what I'm just saying, but he has addressed a long time ago.
That's classic Oda answer too.
Yeah, I think, and it's interesting. It was Little Garden. It was Little Garden before Zoans were introduced. So I think he was already preparing people wondering why Zoan users don't lose their clothes.
I don't remember that part about Luffy being burned at the moment.
It was, remember, it was the wedding cake. The wedding cake, it burned or something happened. He comes out of the fire or that explosion, and he lost his T-shirt, his top, but he's still wearing his shorts.
I like your answer, Will. You said it may also be their shadows or astral projections, mental images of themselves. That's what I said that once a long time ago, but even before we'd actually ever seen them, when it was showing their shadows, when we first seen when they transformed when Cobra was in there. That's what I thought too.
However, there's one person in which I do believe it might be his abilities because of his name, Saturn. He actually made the wound and the blood around the wound disappear.
The time.
Blood splattered. Yeah, the blood spattered around him, and he is literally to be Father Time, Cronus, Saturn. So I do wonder if that could be his abilities as a yokai ability, but it could also be something that Gorsei can do as well. Like, we do have to take that into account. But it's weird. Like, and people say, yeah, but we've seen that. No, dude, guys, blood splattered. His own blood splattered on his body, on his upper body. It also disappeared. I've never seen that happen. Like, literally, it's like if Zoro's in that scene that apparently that never happened in Thriller Bark, with all the blood on him, would just disappear instantly. That is very weird. We've never seen someone have such an ability. It could be Saturn's ability, but it could also be something that Gorsei can do, Which that's crazy, to think that all 5 of them can do that.
It's like they just all entered the Matrix and have a mental projection of their digital selves. That's what the explanation was.
Yeah. So with that, guys, it is now going to be, we're, I think, hitting close to the 2-hour mark, a bit less. But I think it's a good time to stop the stream, and it's also because I'm just going to have to check on my family at the same time. So with that being said, I'm going to let everyone tell people where they can find you, starting with Josh.
I mean, you can find me on this channel and this server in general.
Yeah.
Either just talking on VC or maybe in chat and the D&D pit, Brady D&D.
Yeah, Josh is the Kaido of the D&D. For me, he's the Kaido of the D&D field. Always there, always in D&D, always taking good challengers. So with that being said, let's go to Dill. Tell people where they can find you and the many places they can find you.
Long Dong Schlongland and
Oh, good.
Oh my god. I don't know if they can if they can hear that. If they can hear that, okay, perfect.
No, they definitely heard it. I'm sure Knack doesn't have his soundboards turned off. That is where you can find me. You can find me in all sections of the Discord, the lovely TLA Discord. You can also find me on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. EST over on vexyz the Lurking Legends channel for Group 2 solos. You can find me on Saturdays at about 6:15-ish EST p.m. over on Dire Regulus's channel for Group 3 clears. You can find me in the D&D pit on every other Sunday for Marines D&D. We don't stream that one, but we just hang out. And same for the level 21. That should be coming back soon as well.
Yeah, well, man, honestly, I think at one time, I think you and Josh should challenge each other for D&D. Who does the most D&D fights between both of you? I'm very curious about who would. You guys are in many groups, but yeah. And then obviously our navigators, 3-day. Okay, tell us where's the easiest place to find you, because we know you're everywhere. You know, at least give us a viewer card or something.
Reddit, Twitter, just wherever. Just if you look.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you guys, 3-day is everywhere. Like the other day, I was watching the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer, and I promise you, I thought I saw 3-day in the bush. I was like, damn, look at 3-day joining the MCU-esque Deadpool in universe. Look at her.
I
She was
cannot
definitely
believe you
moderating the chat.
recognize me since you have never ever seen me. That's just crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, and obviously we've got our one of our favorite affiliates and one of the most. I mean, Luffy has a grand fleet. We have our affiliates, and everyone knows about Barto. So Knack, tell them where they can find you.
You find me over on Discord. I hang out with TLA a lot. You can find me on Twitter at KnackD. I post some funny stuff there sometimes. And yeah, I got some stuff going in the background that you might be seeing soon. Keep your eyes peeled for the next KnackD project.
Yeah. And with that, obviously, you know me, Kube the Red Sea, it's under the last arc, but also a member of the Nothing Happened podcast with Tainted Marv, Kusoland, Starlight, and Lex. As you know, usually every Monday we drop a interesting podcast where nothing happens. Go check it out. Even though nothing happens, it is quite fun as well. Obviously, our captain isn't here today, so I had Lucas, but don't forget, he's got his Rumbling Addiction videos, and he drops every week, so you should check them out. And Dill,
Also, I believe next week is the return of Group 14, Mikey's Men. That'll be on Thursday next week, right, Josh?
Yeah, sure. I think it should next week.
Nice. No, that's good. Group 14. We're very hyped.
See you everyone in the chat for that one.
Mm-hmm. And
thanks
like
to the
this,
chat for showing up.
Yeah, and also this disclaimer for Saturday. There's a big chance that this Saturday will be a chapter stream. Keep you guys posted, and if so, it's going to be great. There is some stuff that I kept so that for the chapter. Oh yeah. So with that being said, guys, again, we want to thank you all for showing up, and see you guys on, for those who are going to watch the D&D stuff, see us throughout the week, and for those, see you on Saturday. Bye.
Bye.
Good night, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
I'll be back.